Well, here we are heading up on the 4th of July, and I know you, our friends at Hughes and Coleman, want people to just be responsible, think responsible out there, and then be in good, responsible situations. And that's across the board. It starts at ground zero with just the fireworks party in your backyard, fireworks safety, fire injuries. I know that's something you guys think you want people to be thinking about this 4th of July season almost, I guess.
Absolutely. I want to appreciate, thank Richard Hartsock, one of our very good lawyers, came down with me today. And the reason I asked him to come down, we were just off at a seminar and talking about non-lawyer stuff. And he's all fired up about his fireworks display. And he's
Wait a second.
Pun intended.
Backyard, yeah, fired up.
I'm telling you, when I was listening, I'm thinking, man, that rival's down at the ball field at Western. So
Richard Fest they call it, I believe. Yes.
We're working on it.
Yeah,
it's got to have a name. So and it reminded me back when because my kids are older, we used to shoot fireworks off in the cul-de-sac, and I didn't have anything close to what he did. I thought, I bet Richard knows what the law is on that, because he's very cautious about stuff. And he said, "Oh yeah, I keep it on my phone. So if they show up, I can say, well, I'm in compliance with this." So I thought that'd be interesting, because I think people want to do the right thing, and sometimes they don't exactly know, and they see what other people are doing. So I thought it'd be interesting.
How do you attack it? How do you keep it?
And Richard lives in Warren County.
Yeah,
I live in the city, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah, as a Warren County in the county, what should we be thinking? I'm a county guy as well.
Right.
What do we need to be thinking about from the legal side, just to make sure that everything is on the up and up, and that we're looking out for our neighbors and our own safety and our own protection, both legally and physically. Yeah.
So to begin with, there is an ordinance that was fiscal court several years ago that says when and where you can shoot off these fireworks. So actually starting today, I think at 10 a.m. you can start shooting off fireworks until about 11. For you early birds, right?
Yeah, brunch over fireworks right there. Yeah.
So it's important to know when and where. You don't want Sheriff Hightower sending somebody knocking on your door and shutting you down. When you've spent some time, you've spent some money on some fireworks, you want to be able to use them. So that's the first thing that I did when I started getting, I guess, what you want to call semi-serious about shooting off consumer fireworks. Make sure that I was doing it in compliance with the law. Out in the county right now, they're harvesting. So we've got around 200 acres of wheat that was just harvested around our place. We've got to be very cognizant of that. We don't want any embers from a 500-gram cake that I've shot off setting off.
That's serious. I just do the big ones from the little ones.
That's right. That's what. That's what it is. But it's a real concern. I mean, we started, it seems, in February this year, and it's dry.
Right.
So anything that you can do, just to make sure that you are as safe as possible, from using longer lighters, wearing safety glasses, things along those lines. Anything you can do to make sure that you're safe, the land around you safe, and the folks around you are safe.
We've talked about this on the show before too. The ABCs of fireworks. Always bind your cakes. Get a big cinder block, and make sure you have something that wedges them up. Because one of my biggest fears is fireworks, and you guys know this too. If one falls over when it's lit, that's how bad things happen.
We had a case exactly like that out of Louisville. I think Richard worked on it. I don't know if it was your case, but I think he may have been familiar with it. Where somebody they thought was far enough away, and something tips over, hits them in the eye, and serious injury. So it can happen, just like that.
How did the world change, especially here locally? I guess it was about 5-6 years ago when the ordinance changed in, I guess,
Bowling Green, City of Bowling Green. I don't know when Warren County's, but after Richard was talking about Warren County, and I knew I was in the city, I went and looked it up. So if I got the date right, if I remember, City of Bowling Green passed an ordinance in 2011. I don't know if that's the first one. I didn't look to see what was before, but the things that I thought, wow. I wouldn't have thought that in the city of Warren County, or in the city of Bowling Green, you're supposed to be at least 200 feet or a structure. I don't know where you find that place in Bowling Green. We would do them out in our cul-de-sac, and maybe it's 125 feet from my house. The house is around that, but it's not 200. And then Richard was talking about the time. Well, they give you a week. It starts June in city. It starts June 27th. I guess that's today. And it goes until July 5th, and you can go from noon from noon until 10 p.m. except on the 4th, July 4th, they give you an extra day or an extra hour. You can go until 11 at night.
Right.
And I think those are just so people can sleep. Don't do it. And so I don't see those as a problem. But and the other thing is, you're not, even with adult supervision, the city of Bowling Green ordinance says you can't have somebody under 18 shoot them off. So we would let our kids say, I want to do this one, I want to light this one, and they would light it. You know, I think it's important for people to know, look, that's what the law says. Now, whether or not the city sends all their officers out there all the time, I know they have more important things to do, and they don't want to be policing, you know, well, somebody's, you know, got their kids out in the cul-de-sac.
Checking IDs out there.
But you as the parent homeowners, you know, if you have your child do something, they cause an injury to themselves or anybody else, you violated the ordinance. So just be aware.
It opens up the box, right?
It opens up the box. And so it's a hard ordinance to comply with, and I think for that reason, I doubt that the city and the county, you know, officers are, you know, going to do something if you're out there in a safe manner, but maybe you're 145 feet from a structure.
Right.
But that's what the law is. So.
But I was going to say, but what the law reads, though, if something should happen, worst case scenario, the last thing you want to be is in violation of something in the law. And suddenly, if it goes to court and there's representation, things like that, well, you should have known, right?
In our of lawsuits and injuries, you know, if an injury happens and the person who caused it is in violation of a law, you know, that gets us to a jury trial regardless of anything else. You know, we can show, look, they violated a law, even if the jury thinks that ordinance is silly. You know, well, my 17-year-old knows what to do. That's what the law is. You know, just like the speeding. You know, you're not supposed to go over 55 if it says 55.
Right. So again, just a little bit of research can go a long way for something that could potentially happen down the road. And of course, with that being said, too, not only in the fireworks realm, but also out on the roads and out on the water. A big traveling holiday. A lot of folks celebrating holidays. More important than ever to be responsible on all fronts, whether you're in a car, a motorcycle, a boat, whatever it may be, right?
Exactly. You can't shoot fireworks from a vehicle, so you can't shoot them off in a boat because that's a vehicle. You agree with that, Richard?
Agree.
You can't shoot fireworks from a vehicle.
Well, okay, just say that again, because I think a lot of people don't think about that one. I mean, you think a vehicle, okay, well, I'm not going to shoot something off the back of my truck, but a boat
again,
is technically,
and I tried to figure out what exactly did that mean, because as lawyers were trying to parse words, what did they mean? And it says from a vehicle, and to me, that would be the inside. So if you've got a parked truck that's not running and you're shooting from the bed of the truck, I would not read that as a violation of the law. But if you're in a vehicle and, you know, throwing out fireworks or something, you can't do that.
Well, that's kind of a jerk move anyway. Don't do that.
Right.
Yes,
you've got to remember the intent of these ordinances, and you know the statutes that we have in Kentucky. It's all about safety, and it's all about protection. So obviously, we don't need to be shooting Roman candles or bottle rockets out of a movie vehicle.
Not a good idea in general.
Tony, what you just said is a pretty good test. You said, well, that's a jerk move anyway, and for the most part, that's kind of what the law is. If that's a jerk move, there's a law against it.
Right.
Now, there's not a law against being a jerk, like acting, you know, mean and stuff like that. I have clients say, well, they were mean to me. There's no law against that.
Right.
But if it's something that's stupid to do,
there's probably
it involves a car, or, I mean, you think if you're driving a car and you're doing something stupid, you're out there doing donuts in a parking lot, there's a law that says you can't do that. So just common sense goes a long way.
Common sense, the best law of the land sometimes right there is common sense. Hughes and Coleman, of course, in the studio. We appreciate you guys coming in. And again, if folks have questions or they have concerns or anything like that, we've got a great website you can check out with more information.
All kinds of information on there.
And social media, all kinds of great platforms there. But educate yourself. Again, 15 minutes at your desk or at the kitchen table, reading up on a few things on the website at Hughes and Coleman, or on social media on the Hughes and Coleman sites. It'll go a long way.
And Tony, if I could leave one last
Yes,
word, I think people are scared to say anything. You know, it's not polite if somebody. But our case out of Louisville, somebody else was doing something. I think they had a child lighting fireworks, and they didn't do it safe. So if you see somebody who's doing something that's unsafe, you know, either, you know, nicely say, look, please don't do that, or get yourself out of that situation. Because this time of year, you know, I think the one thing for sure is there's a spike in stupid behavior. You know, you'll see people doing things that's just not. So take care of yourself. First rule, take care of yourself and your family. and then you can worry about the other people.
Did you guys, when Bowling Green and Warren County, the fireworks changed? Because it used to be to get quote unquote the good fireworks, you had to go to Tennessee and then bring them back over the state line. But then I guess Bowling Green and Warren County, now you can get those fireworks here. Did you guys see a spike in cases or a change in behavior or calls kind of when that happened? And
well,
and
as Richard says, there's so few of those cases. I don't think we'd ever see a spike in them. I would say no. The answer to your question, I don't really see anything, from that.
It got much louder.
I was going to say it's got a lot louder.
A lot louder. But I think because if you're selling fireworks, in the city of Bowling Green, you have to go through a permitting process, and that ensures that, as Richard used the term, consumer fireworks. Those are the ones that you can buy out the parking lots at the tents. And there's a difference between those and what they call display fireworks, which are the ones you're going to see at the big fireworks display.
Sure.
And consumers can't get that and should not, and have to go through a process. So generally, if you buy them at one of the vendors here in town, you're buying something that's legal for you to shoot off.
Right on. And of course, that's always good too. If you're buying from one of the vendors in town, they should have all their licenses and everything like that listed in public, so you know that they're a legitimate dealer.
Looked at that. I don't know if they have to post that, but I know they're supposed to go through a permitting. And my guess is that the law enforcement does go around and check those. But now there's a lot of them, so somebody could pop up, a pirate, station someplace. But I think if you're one of the big vendors, you're probably safe there.
It's good talking to you guys. Always good catching up. Hughes and Coleman, our friends. Check them
Be
out
safe out there,
online as well.
everybody.
That's the biggest thing right
Be
there.
safe.
Common sense law, best law of all of them right there. If you're following common sense, you're probably going to be safe and sound everywhere. Have a great holiday, guys. Good seeing you.
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Tony. You
Stick
too.
around. We got some good stuff up next. Aerosmith, hang tight.
Hey, Hot Rods fans, Roscoe is